Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be talking about, have we established a hyperglorification of what it means to be in the diaspora and overseas as Africans. Specifically, I'm going to be targeting an African perspective. I know a lot of immigrants share the same views, but I'm specifically going to be targeting an African audience. So let's get into it without wasting too much time. Right, first of all, I am a student. I am currently based in Germany. I have been here for about approaching 2 years now, and I came here, of course, to study, which is kind of the normal thing, the normal mentality in my country of Zimbabwe. If you can afford to send your child overseas to get an education. Why has this been normalized? It has been normalized because a lot of our African countries are facing this crisis, whether it be an economic crisis or an actual physical conflict, like a war or a civil war. You know, there are rebel groups or something like that. So in a sense, there is a lot of immigration outside of Africa towards, looking for greener pastures where you can hope to find employment, where you can have a better opportunity, study with the most advanced technologies, and be a mover and a shaker, if you will, in this world. Now, I have seen that, yes, that may be true, but are we sort of people neglect to see that there can be negatives to this, right? I personally have gone through a first talking point I would like to speak on is sort of the loneliness that you feel after moving abroad. It was all exciting for me saying, oh, next week I'll be out of here, guys. I was almost excited to leave because after a while, after you've had it tough in your country and you're like, I can do so much better. I want to do so much for myself, but I don't have these opportunities. This country presents these opportunities and I am going there and I'm going to do this. But a lot of people neglect to consider that there's loneliness. Starting a journey, most of the time you're starting this journey alone. You don't have family there, you don't have friends there, you don't have anyone, basically. You have to start living alone. So some people coming straight from their parents' house, or if you already lived alone, you just have to live with unfamiliar people and maybe a not so nice living environment. For example, if you shared accommodation, like a flat share or something, and you now have to live with roommates that are from different cultures and different things, and they may not be as clean as you, they may be too clean for your liking, like you may not be that clean of a person and it bothers them and that results in conflict. There's all these things like in the back of your mind. Also, on the second point, there's this thing of I'm here on a visa and I have to do what I can to keep this visa to stay legitimate so that I can accomplish what I hope to accomplish, whether you are planning to temporarily stay in this country until you finish your education or establish a business in your home country while you are working here. There's always that fear, like, what if this happens? What if I get stopped by the police one day and for something and put my visa in jeopardy? You always have that little fear that's holding you back from sometimes doing these things, and it also limits what you can do. Like, am I allowed to freelance? Am I allowed to work? Am I allowed to exceed a certain amount of working hours? What is my limit? If I exceed a certain amount of hours in a year, I will be called and I'll be like, they'll tell me to stop working probably or something, and that could possibly be an issue because you also need to support yourself. So yeah, it's not as easy as you would like to think it is. Yeah, another talking point I had was on discrimination. As a black person from African origin, you're at a special disadvantage, can I say. You can turn it into an advantage if you know how to work around it, but most of the time if you move to a new country where you're a minority, right, and the thing with being a minority is you always feel like you can't occupy a space fully. What I mean by that is there's always like a barrier, whether it's someone who can't pronounce your name correctly and you have to kind of water it down or use a second name, and whether that bothers you or not. Some people are not bothered by it, people are different. You face discrimination in terms of people telling you, you know, why are you here, go back to where you came from, things like that. Or you just don't feel comfortable in a space because maybe you're like, even if it's like a friendly event, like a social gathering, you're the only black person, you are the only one speaking with a different accent, and people are kind of sometimes a very disheartening thing to think about. These are the microaggressions that, you know, every day you think about. If you are a woman, you have to keep your hair a certain way, otherwise they'll say, you know, your hair doesn't look neat, and you just can't, like, you have to think about all these extra things on top of everything else that a normal person has to think about, which is sometimes a lot. Lastly on my list, I think, is really the accent and language barriers. I know I've touched a bit on accents, but like, yeah, there is a great deal of challenge when you have moved to a country with a different language than the one you speak, and you have to pick up this language. A lot of people end up doing like catching up with the language while they're also trying to keep up with school, but at the same time you don't understand what's happening. Sometimes you have to take a step back and do a language course before you start whatever endeavor you're venturing into, be it work environment, be it school. And you also, while doing all that, your plans that you had in the back of your mind, you have to be like, okay, we're pushing this back, but it's not over. We have to re-strategize, we have to come back to the drawing board. I think that in a lot itself can be a lot mentally challenging, especially if you have a strong accent and this language has a completely different tonnage, and you know, it's sometimes hard for people to understand you, and if people are not patient, it can be frustrating because that communication breakdown is, yeah, it's a lot to take, especially if you have dealing with an impatient person. They can sometimes just dismiss you and be like, yo bro, we don't know what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know, I can't help you, I can't do this for you. Or they don't take you as seriously because you don't speak the language fluently, so they take you for granted. I've seen that a lot with people in like work environment, where the managers think, you know, this guy is a bit dull because he doesn't speak the language, where in actual fact a language is not a measure of intelligence. It is a communication device just like any other language. So yeah, it's basically, it is not as easy as we picture it sometimes, and that in itself can be a bit challenging. But there's also a lot of goods with coming to a new country to experience new things and to get new opportunities, and I might touch on that in a later video. Comment below if you want to see that. And thank you so much for watching this.